So today I'm going to talk about the 10 things we see that have evolved so far in 2016 in the world of commerce. And Eric brought some of these things up during his speech. There was a good old days of e-commerce, how you look at the past. And what were those good old days? Those good old days were you were really good at hacking SEO and you were first to market. And you had a decent margin and all you had to do was be online and the money came in. And we've been around long enough that we've seen a ton of stores, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, we were doing 100,000, 200,000 a month in sales, and now they're struggling to do 20 or 30,000, and they can't figure out why. And the reason is they did not evolve. They used a disruptive technology to disrupt, and then they've now been disrupted. So before we get going into that stuff, how many of you guys are current Miva clients? Okay, so about half the room. How many of you are using another e-commerce platform? Okay, so maybe 20%. How many of you aren't using any e-commerce platform? All right, so everyone's online some way today. I don't do a big sales pitch, so I'm just going to tell you real quick about Miva. We've been around since 1997. We've done 100 billion in transactions on our platform during that time. We do about 5 billion a year today. We specifically focus at this point on the mid-market. So there's different players in our space. Some focus on having hundreds of thousands of merchants who do very low sales. People like Demandware focus on having 200 merchants who do a ton of sales, and we play right in between that space. Everything I'm going to show you today is something that can be accomplished with our platform, and that is the extent of my sales pitch about Miva. So if you have questions about what you see today, feel free to talk to me or any of my staff here at the event. The past 20 years, technology has disrupted the sales process and turned it on its head. Today, young people especially are discerning, they're mobile-based, and they don't care what channel it's coming from. They just want it the way they want it, when they want it, at the price they want it. You used to go find customers and sell things to them. That's not how it works anymore. How many of you can even get your customers on the phone today? You just can't. They won't take your call. I don't take any phone calls. If you've ever tried to call me, good luck. I don't even have a voicemail anymore. It forwards to my assistant who knows I'm not calling you back. There's no chance. Now, if you have the wherewithal to look at my email online, it's everywhere. And if I feel like it, I'll answer your email. I'm pretty good at that. But I will not take your phone call. They buy on their terms, when they want, how they want. You do not sell them. One of the things we've seen disrupt is ultra-personalized buying experiences. Study after study shows that people like shopping online because it provides them the ability to find the information they want specifically to make the decision they're looking to make. The best way to maximize this is to personalize the buying experience for them based on the information you have. So we're going to talk about a site called Three Rivers Archery. Three Rivers Archery is a leader in the archery niche. Are any of you in here into archery? Neither am I. So none of us are going to know anything about Three Rivers Archery, or maybe you are. Got it. So Three Rivers, though, they are an exemplary leader in their space, and they do a ton of this kind of personalization. So if you look at their main nav, do I have a pointer on here? Oh, that's kind of nice. So in their main nav, they focus on learn from the experts. Right? So if you see that up here, they start by leveraging what they do best. They know more than you do. And then they give you a list of ways they're experts. And some of those things are highlighting expert opinions, their blog, helpful videos, etc. Then they have local resources, local archery shows, shops. Then they do community building, letting people post events, ask questions, answer questions. And then ultimately, which we'll go into later, they have a customized arrow builder that lets you build a virtually infinite number of arrows based on all the options they sell and let you see it before you buy it. Things that were never even possible in a retail environment. They leverage their past buying and browsing habits of a particular shopper to provide dynamic and relevant product recommendations. So based on what you've done on the site, they're going to change what you see. So if you're looking at certain products, then you're going to see the right relevant things. We've all seen this on Amazon. Amazon's is pretty good, but going back to what Eric said, Amazon's the Walmart of today. And so Amazon's recommendations are reasonably okay. If I'm Looking at an iPhone case, they're going to show me more iPhone cases. But they're not really going to be able to get deep the way someone who's in a niche is going to be able to get deep and use that information. And last but not least on here, they really highlight their community. There is a community around archery. If you have a customer base that's got a community, for example, our NASCAR friend over here, that is a huge community. You can leverage people in your community. People want to be seen, heard, acknowledged, and validated. They want to be recognized. And all you need to do is give them the opportunity on your website to fill in some content. It's the greatest thing ever. It's hiring a marketing team that you don't pay. And as long as you do really good work and provide a high quality service with an easy to use website, they will show up in droves. If you're a Miva customer, how many of you use the Miva community forums? So a third of the room. Our forums are one of the greatest things we've ever done. Our forums create a community around the usage of our product. It is a self-service question and answer that we also help with. Brennan gets 4 or 5 IMs from me a day saying, can you look at this one or can you look at that one? But ultimately, the community steps in and answers. And Andreas, where are you? So Andreas is a Miva developer in the Miva community. He's on our forums all the time. It's a great way for you to get new business as well. You get to show off your expertise, and then people might private message you or email you and ask you questions. So you create this symbiotic relation within your community. Next customer we're going to talk about here, or next site we're going to talk about is MARKETVIEW Liquor. They're, I believe, not too far north of here. They're like a regional New York, New England BevMo competitor. One of the things they do really well is wine is their big thing. And how many of you are into wine? I know this one's going to get a few more hands. Don't lie. You're either into wine or beer. So if you're into wine, MARKETVIEW Liquor specializes in that, and they like to do wine reviews. So if you start thinking about the implications of that, they get drunk while filming a YouTube video, and it's funny. It's really, really funny. And then they put a buy button right in that blog post. So as you're laughing about their review while they're getting drunk on the wine they're trying to sell you, you buy that same wine. It's an emotional bond and experience that happens, and they use basically embedded video to sell product. One of the next disruptions we've seen in modern e-commerce is real-time visibility. Essentially, customers don't see a difference between commerce and e-commerce. To them, they just want to buy something, right? And what they're looking for is the most convenient way to receive the product they want in the timeline they need it at the price point that works for them. So for example, had I forgotten my belt, luckily I didn't, but I've been known to do those kind of things, I would have been online yesterday looking for a brown belt and trying to figure out what the closest store that had it in stock was for the right price so I could get there and get a belt so that my pants wouldn't be falling down when I'm talking to you fine folks today. Now, how many of you have tried that with Target before? Have you ever gone to Target's website and it says, yeah, the Target down the street has the thing you're looking for in stock? How many of you have realized that when you get there, it's never in stock? Target's real-time inventory management sucks. Because of that, I don't trust Target's website. I like Target. If I go into the store and I'm buying stuff, I'm personally a Target person over a Walmart person for those kind of things. But when it comes to their technology, it just sucks. And they do a really bad job at it. So now I don't trust them and I don't trust their technology. So you can't make those kind of mistakes. You need to build trust with your customers by getting a real-time visibility into where your inventory is and letting people come buy it. And there's a couple ways to do that. If you're in New England, maybe you're familiar with the Paper Store. They have I think, roughly 40 location chain. They're similar to, and if anyone from the Paper Store's here, forgive me if this is insulting, but they're similar to Hallmark. So they sell those kind of things, holiday cards, figurines, not the kind of stuff I buy, but there's a huge market for it based on what I see out there. And so what they do is they use a combination of geo-IP. They can tell based on your browser IP where you are to locate the closest store to you. We've seen this before. It's pretty common. When it works, it's great. Every once in a while, a site will think I'm in a different state, which I don't understand, but that's okay. And then they use real-time inventory to ensure the product you're looking for is in stock. And they can tell you that, hey, if you want this particular Precious Moments figurine, you can go to this store, and it's there for you. On the other hand, MarketView Liquor does something similar, but they actually let you purchase it ahead of time, and then it's just waiting for you. So if you know you want a specific bottle of wine or a specific bottle of whiskey or whatever the drink you're looking for is, you can buy it online and they'll just have it ready for pickup. And both of these are great ways to leverage real-time inventory from your supply chain into your buying experience. One of the next disruptions is personalized merchandising. And this is probably one of the most important ones. I have really big feet. Size 13 or 14 depending on the shoemaker. There's a few brands that I can wear. New Balance if it's running shoes, Allen Edmonds and a couple others if it's dress shoes. There's not a lot of, I can't buy anything from Nike. I mean, maybe a t-shirt, but there are no Nike shoes that I will ever wear. They just don't fit my feet. And that's fine. So if I go to a store, especially an online store like say a Zappos, and I put in my preferences, when I go back, I want to see stuff that's tailored to me. Now, obviously, I should be able to use traditional navigation to get back to something else. Maybe I'm buying shoes for someone else. I'm buying a gift. But for me, if I've given them my personal information, I'm frustrated when they don't use that information to serve me better. I've taken the time to sort of break down that privacy wall between myself and them and give them that information. And it's kind of like if you call somewhere for customer service and you validate your account via the phone, and what's the first thing they always do when they answer the phone? Ask you to validate your frickin' account one more time. You want to bang the phone on the ground, except it's your cell phone, so that would cost you a lot of money. And you just don't get it. You're like, well, why? Why did I do this the first time if they're just going to do it a second time? Same thing goes with personalized buying. So we're going to look at BTO Sports. So BTO Sports is a leader in, I think, I don't know much about motocross. So if you're in a motocross, you might know more than me. But they're a leader in either the semi-pro or the pro motocross space. And their big thing is they sponsor a ton of up-and-coming people. And so if you're at a regional motocross event, there's a really good chance that you're going to see a bunch of BTO Sports riders. They have a BTO Sports booth, and they just do great viral marketing within that community. And so one of the things they do here is, here they're selling, are these pants? Okay. So they're selling some pants, but here's the thing that they're doing, it's really interesting here, is they've actually added upsell right into the flow. It doesn't feel, you're at the restaurant, you can't even finish your meal, and the very chipper waiter or waitress is like, do you want to see the dessert menu? And you're like, I didn't finish my burger. How do you think I want to see the dessert menu? And it always feels sort of forced. And then sometimes after you deny the first upsell, they'll come back with a second or third or fourth, like you're a secret shopper and you're judging them. And that whole feeling is really disconcerting because it feels forced. But here, they've done a great job of just integrating this into the flow. Do I want to add this glove? Yes or no? Next thing they do is, based on your browsing habits, they're going to offer you specific things that are tied to what's in your session and in your cart. And so just sort of an interstitial pop-up that happens on the way out. Nice and easy. If you want them, great. If you don't, you just click no thanks, continue checkout. High conversion rate, low frustration rate. And then last but not least with BTO, they do really robust faceting and algorithmic category page display. So what does that mean? They have, I think, is it 1.4 million total products? So when you add in all the sizes and colors and mixes and matches and everything they do, they have 1.4 million SKUs. So the biggest challenge with sorting through 1.4 million SKUs, how many of you guys have 100,000 or more SKUs when it's all said and done? I know you guys do. 27,000? Okay, that's even a lot. We've seen stores with millions. If you're getting into thousands, definitely even into tens of thousands or millions, you have to have a really good way for someone to drill down. And so facets and intelligent categories are the way to do that. Otherwise, you can't find anything. And even Amazon, as great as they are, their faceting kind of sucks. You go look at Amazon's faceting, and sometimes you click the Prime button and it shows you non-Prime stuff, and sometimes you'll see that you click the size shoe you want and it shows you the wrong size shoe. It's really important, especially if you're trying to be a specialist in a niche, to get your facets and your data correct. talk about the paper store again one more time. A couple things they do when it comes to this personalization is, based on your browsing habits, they do adaptive imagery. So based on how you've been behaving, if they figure out it's me, they might show me something very different than they're going to show you. And so they will adjust their imagery to try to sell to you based on the things you've been looking at and also your account history. In addition, they do virtual lookbooks, which is a really, we've seen this used well sometimes. How many of you remember, how many of you are old enough to get like the Sears catalog when we were kids? Okay. And you know what the weirdest thing about the Sears catalog? We all sat around and looked at it. Think about it. You just sat there flipping through a frickin' catalog. Who would do that today? I just got the Restoration Hardware catalog at home, which I hate because I don't want it, and it's like bigger than the Yellow Pages, and you can't unsubscribe from it for some reason. It's like the Terminator. I don't want the Restoration Hardware catalog because I don't want it printed and mailed to my house. However, if they turned it into a lookbook and put it on their website, it'd be great. And so the paper store uses virtual lookbooks to create a catalog-style experience without the hassle of printing and mailing, and then they tie them to holiday collections for selling specifically at the right time of year, and they've integrated the sales process into those lookbooks. This, of all the disruptions that we've seen coming down the pike, is probably the one I find most interesting. We're calling it business-to-consumer subscriptions, but really you could just call this e-commerce subscriptions. Depending on what you sell, if you have high repeat customers, this would be your first clue. If you have high repeat customer purchases, you are probably a likely candidate to build a subscription product. And it may not be the product you can think of. So an example is, I have a friend who's a client as well, but she's been a friend for a lot longer. She sells jewelry, and I'm trying to convince her to start a subscription segment for her jewelry, that she could curate jewelry. Maybe it's not even all hers. Maybe she gets it from other people in the industry. But curate a jewelry of the month piece that's more affordable than some of her high-end stuff. I was trying to convince her of the Armani Exchange versus the Armani Black Label model. Segment the brand and sell subscriptions. People want to, when they have an emotional connection to a brand, get something every month. It's like a Christmas gift every month. People want to set it and forget it for the must-haves, especially for the consumables. So Plant Therapy is a site that sells essential oils. Do they also do soap making? No, they just do essential oils. So they do essential oils. I'm sort of mixed on this thing. I would never buy one, but I really like the way they smell. And so how many of you have heard of Plant Therapy? So a few of you. How many of you have heard of it because we talk about it in our marketing and otherwise you wouldn't have heard of it? Okay, so most of you don't have a clue who Plant Therapy is organically, which is fine. In fact, that proves the point. Even without being a major brand, they have over 1,500 active subscriptions on their essential oil subscription program. The other thing they've done is they've integrated subscriptions into every single purchase flow on their website. If you have a product that lends itself to subscriptions, even if you don't have a product that lends itself to subscriptions, but if you have a brand that lends itself to a subscription base, find a product, get subscriptions going. This will change your business. The reason why tech companies are valued so much is something called recurring revenue. The reason your business will be as valuable to you as it will be if you can get subscriptions going is recurring revenue. Predictable, recurring orders. You don't end up with inventory that's out of whack. You know exactly what's going to happen. The other thing they do actually to get people to subscribe is really clever. I'm not sure why I'm cutting out, but that's all right. Is they do subscriber-only exclusives. So they'll get a special new oil or a special new product, and the only way you can even buy it is if you're in their club. They've got a gate to get to their best stuff, and it's brilliant. HEADBLADE. How many of you are familiar with HEADBLADE? So HEADBLADE's reasonably well-known brand. If you're a bald guy and you shave your head, you probably are very familiar with HEADBLADE. Otherwise, you may have seen it around. They primarily sell through places like Walgreens and CVS, Vaughn's we have out west. I don't know what the equivalent supermarket would be out here. But they get huge distribution through traditional retail. What's the problem with huge distribution through traditional retail? There's no margin. When the CEO of Walgreens flies you out to New York to discuss his price, he's not really looking to leave an extra 5% on the table for you, or 10%. He's looking to get his price as close to your cost as humanly possible. And because they manufacture a lot of their own goods, and they have private labeled versions of everything, he has a really good sense of your cost. So not only does he not want to give you much margin, he knows what hands you're playing. And so the reason why you want to leverage traditional retail if you have that opportunity is because you get huge brand awareness. And if you only make a penny or two on the dollar, that's fine. But if you're going to play that game, the best thing to do is to get raving fans and sell to them directly. Because now he has high margin sales going through his website. So stuff that costs him 50 cents to make, he can sell you for $20 via the website. Buy the same thing at Walgreens maybe for $16, but you had to drive there to get it, and he only made maybe $1 in that case if he's lucky. So their subscription product helps them predict demand, and it's perfect for the consumable goods market. Next revolution that we find really interesting, or that I personally find really interesting, is this. How many of you remember, and Cresta, forgive me for this one because you're still in this business, but how many of you guys remember not that long ago that it was really, really important to have a VeriSign symbol on the top of your website, or a hacker safe, right? Hacker safe. The hackers are coming for you. The reason for that, and the reason those products worked as long as they worked, and we used to, I'm with Eric, we believe in best practices. The reason we used to promote having a trust symbol above the fold was it made a difference. Back in 2006, 7, 8, if someone had never heard of you before and they went to your website, if they didn't trust you, they were worried about putting their credit card in. You know what's happened in the last 10 years? They don't care anymore. If your website doesn't look like it's hosted in Russia and specifically going to steal your credit card, they trust you all day long. If you have some decent hero images and your website loads reasonably fast and it's got a domain name, they'll let you store their credit card. They don't care. It's not even their problem if it gets stolen. They just get a new one. They don't pay anything. The world has shifted. And so mobile payments can be stored by anyone. They're no longer just for the Amazons of the world. SCOTTEVEST, how many of you are familiar with SCOTTEVEST? So Scott's an interesting character. His product is ultimately middle-aged men's clothes with lots of pockets. And you know what? It's a really interesting niche. I don't know that he's staying ahead of the generational curve, but it's a really interesting niche. And if you're a 40-plus-year-old man and you have an iPad and a cell phone and a camera and you're a gadget freak, his products are great because you can put them all in your pockets and you don't look like you're wearing a fanny pack. He also was a well-known Shark Tank guest, and depending on your view of how that went, but he did get a lot of press for his time on Shark Tank. Scott, for a long time, struggled with mobile conversions and just general trying to maximize repeat ordering. Stored credit cards became the secret to success on that. As soon as we were able to get him a proper wallet directly for his website, not using a third-party wallet, and doing it in a PCI compliant way, he was able to increase orders, increase repeat buying, and make mobile checkout smoother. And these are the kind of things that are now available to virtually everyone in a modern site. And 3 or 4 years ago, getting stored credit cards on your site was nearly impossible if you weren't going to, be a huge security risk. Next disruption that's really important, multi-channel product availability. The big thing about this is Amazon is the largest e-commerce search engine in the world. How many of you guys knew that already? So some of you. It is a far bigger search engine than Google. Approximately 2/3 of all product searches start on Amazon. And Amazon doesn't really care if you buy it directly from them, if you buy it from their marketplace, or if they serve you an ad and let you go off, because they get their cut either way. In fact, for them, it's more profitable when they display the listing and you fulfill it for them. They don't have to do anything except their marketing engine. And that's some of the brilliance of what they do. Customers do not distinguish between channels. How many of your customers know what the word channel means in this sense? What do they think it means? Television channel. They don't think it has anything to do with sales. They're not worried about whether you've got it on Amazon, eBay, Jet, your physical store, your website. They just simply want to find the product they want at the best delivery price combo for their need. And so in order for you to maximize that, you need to find the channels that your customers are in and work to it. KIYONNA is a great example of this. So KIYONNA is a leader in the, I hate this term, but in plus size clothing niche for women. And they sell through a bunch of known channels in their niche. So they sell through Lane Bryant, they sell through Zappos, they sell through, I think it's called fullbeauty.com. They also have their own direct website, a showroom, and Amazon. The trick that they do is they have automated inventory feeds to keep them all up to date so that they don't end up with the Target problem. And they make sure that when you order something from any one of those channels, it works. In addition, they've been able to leverage their well-known brand to get an exclusive presence on Amazon's fashion portal. Finally, they get higher margin by going direct. So if you can, this goes back to what we said earlier, if you can build a brand like HEADBLADE, if you can build a brand, everything Eric talked about, if you can build a brand and make people have a loyalty to your brand because you're differentiated, then when you sell direct, you get to keep the money. If you think about Amazon's business model has always been really fascinating to me. How much do they charge you to store stuff on a percentage basis at Fulfillment by Amazon? Around 20%. How much do they charge you for the marketplace? It varies by category, but call it 20%. When it's all said and done, if you ship a product into Amazon's fulfillment centers and let them ship it for you, they take half the money. Now, how does retail always work? Well, you mark it up 100%. So what's left? Nothing. The only way to make a channel like Amazon work, there's two things you can do with a channel like Amazon. You can build brand awareness, or you need to have really high margin products. Because otherwise, all you're doing is financing Jeff Bezos' inventory for him. It's very nice of you, but it's not helping you. Next disruption. This is a very specific subset of it, but B2B sales automation. Gartner in 2015 said B2B online growth for e-commerce sales will grow at a compounding annual growth rate of 15% a year for the next 5 years. That is a game changer. If you, how many of you do B2B sales of any sort? Okay, so a decent amount of you. How did it work 20 years ago? Someone called you, or they faxed you, or you had a sales rep in the field who was placing an order. And there was a very manual process. And there were some wins to that. The wins to that was super defensible. If you had a salesperson who had a great relationship with that client, you weren't going to ever lose that client. Granted, you probably had to pay the salesperson more than you really wanted to for how little they were actually doing, but that's okay. Their relationship with the client justified that high premium, and the process wasn't the most inefficient, but you had a nice moat around your business. What's happened now is buyers are routinely becoming younger. What do younger people want to do? They want to buy online. You know what else they don't want to do? They don't want to talk on the phone. Not only can you not get a hold of me on the phone, if you date me, you can hardly get me on the phone. I don't take phone calls. I look at my phone like it's the devil. I don't want to hear a voice unless I'm in front of you. And that's true for millennials especially, and any young person today. They talk on social media. They'll talk to you on Instagram, Snapchat. They'll do all sorts of things, but what they will not do is pick up that phone. And so you need to use the change and revolution in B2B to streamline and automate that process. The people who can streamline that process and get the lion's share of that compound annual growth rate will get a slight edge over their competitors that will be impossible for their competitors to catch up with. So this is Crown Automotive. If you're into Jeeps, which I am, they are the largest manufacturer of Jeep parts other than Chrysler Mopar themselves, and specifically things that Chrysler Mopar doesn't make anymore. So if you were to go on American Pickers and find a 1952 Jeep Willys and decide you were going to restore the thing, Chrysler's not really going to help. They don't make 1952 Jeep Willys parts anymore. But Crown Automotive does, and they sell through dealers. So they have a very limited number of buyers. I don't know, do you know, Brendan, it's like 200 total shoppers? But it's very few. They have maybe 200 people around the world who can shop from their site. Every one of those people has a different shopping experience. They get different products, different pricing, different payment terms, different fulfillment terms, and even different warehouses that you can get products from. They also do, which is really slick, this streamlined order page. So if you know exactly what you want, you can just actually create your order in a CSV file, upload the order, and process it. Very fast, very slick. You can see here can actually see which warehouses things are at. And if something is in stock, you can hide warehouses. You can choose which warehouse it's going to come from and then understand the shipping date changes from it. Crown Automotive has really, really excelled at optimizing every part of the B2B purchasing process, from connecting to their ERP system all the way through the front end for their shoppers. And they have a great, they truly leverage this technology in a unique way. VAPRO supply. So I'm not a smoker nor am I a vapor, but you guys I'm sure have all seen the meteoric rise of the vaping industry in the last 5 years. The vaping industry has exploded out of nowhere. And VAPRO supply, are they just hardware or are they the stuff too? So they basically make the physical devices that people vape from. And they are purely B2B. They sell only to dealers. And they are either the largest or one of the largest in that space. And so they have, you can see their site, but they have ordering limited to only approved dealers. So if you're not an approved dealer, you can't go in and buy anything. One of the other cool things they do is for high demand products, they set specific limits on a per customer basis. So if I'm a better customer, might be able to get more of a high demand product. I can also set minimum quantities or maximum quantities. And then they also use a very specialized quick order page because a lot of their products have attribute options, and you don't want to have to keep going back to the same page 20 times to order things. Same idea if you're selling clothing B2B. If I'm a boutique and I'm buying some jeans and you're selling jeans, I don't want to have to keep going back to the same jean page to add a new size. I want to be able to see all the sizes, put the numbers in, hit add to cart once, and be done with it. The other thing they do that's really cool and I think is important for the B2B world, especially if you, unlike Crown Automotive, which doesn't take new dealers very often, if you're in a world where new dealers show up every day, they have a streamlined approval process. So they've created an approval process for letting you upload your documents, your reseller certificate, and getting approved to sell on their site. All of these things that used to be very manual, have to be faxed in, have to be approved by a person, they've now automated the vast majority of that process so that you can get an account approved, up and running right away, and help keep their growth on track. Of all the things that we've seen in the last few years, this feature is one of my favorite, at least to play with and use. We've started seeing a lot of customized product builders. So what do I mean by that? For products with a lot of variations, we'll cover skateboards, so I'll use skateboards as an example. Imagine that you sell skateboards, and there's 50 or 100 different decks, and there's, say, an equivalent number of trucks, and then 300 or 400 different wheels. If you do the math on that, quickly you get into millions and millions of variations of potential skateboards that can be built. And so in the old days, your options were really limited. You could have a huge showroom that tried to build as many of these variations as possible, pick the popular ones, and highlight them. Or you could let people customize them, and they don't really know what it's going to look like until they get it. But advances in web technology now allow for all of this to be done online and let you show far more than that could ever be shown in a showroom. So NHS Fun Factory, you guys would know their brands as Santa Cruz Skateboards, Independent Trucks. I think they have 17 total brands, but those are the two most popular ones that I'm aware of. They have this really cool skateboard builder. And so you can start with each one of their brands, and you can build through the whole thing. So you pick your deck, your trucks, your wheels, everything. And then as it goes on, it builds your skateboard for you. So you have a full visual representation of exactly what your skateboard is going to look like before you choose to check out. In addition, sometimes when you have all these parts, maybe the two parts don't play well together. So certain bearings don't fit in certain wheels. They're able to take all that knowledge and warn you if you're trying to pick things that don't conflict, so that you can't accidentally buy something that won't work. And then finally, they've fully integrated into this process a nice professional service. Would you like them to build it for you? So yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's, I'm not into skateboarding, but I'm sure there's people who really want to build that skateboard themselves. If I was buying this, I don't want to build anything. I just want the thing showed up and done, especially if I'm buying it as a gift, say for my child. Then I really, really want it just done. Because the last thing I want to be doing on Christmas Eve is trying to figure out how to put ball bearings in wheels and put them on a truck while I'm arguing with my spouse about how I didn't get this done a week ago when I promised I was going to get this done. Decorative films. So decorative films makes like window films for offices or homes that provide ambiance and cool looks. And so one of the things they do is they do an interactive visualizer that gives you a virtual preview of how things look in the real world. So here we've got a conference room with a bunch of windows, and then you can start seeing what the glass films look like. And then they show it also with people, so you can see the transparency levels. And they let you pick a lot of different room types, different lighting types. You can pick your favorites so you can see a comparison. And then the beauty of this is, and we've seen this before, some of these types of technology started showing up 5-6 years ago, where you could visualize all these things, sort of like the IKEA catalog. And I haven't been on IKEA's website in a bit, so maybe they've fixed it. But the last time I looked at IKEA's website, you could go do these kind of things. You could lay out a room, you could do all these cool things, and then there was no buy button. You couldn't buy anything. Then I've got to go look up some name I can't pronounce. It's got 4 Ks and an H, and I got to go find it in their catalog and buy it and remember all these things. So they've integrated the purchasing process directly into their preview process. Coast-to-coast label. So they manufacture labels, printing labels, business labels of all sort. And so here's something interesting in the label world. Label products, you can actually dynamically generate what they are. If you know how many labels across and what size the paper is, you don't need to generate a graphic for it. That is all an algorithm. And so they've been able to take everything that they're capable of manufacturing, even if they don't keep it in stock, because they can just make the stuff on demand, and they've been able to upload all the different combinations and have the preview builder generate what the labels will look like, including the product specs. And then on top of that, they've tied all of this in to volume pricing and pricing rules. So for example, volume pricing is obviously makes sense, but maybe you need a minimum quantity if they're going to take their time to make that. So they've been able to take complex pricing rules that used to require salespeople to calculate and negotiate and algorithmically make it so that if they get a new machine that can do something wider, they just put in new dimensions, and now they have a whole new set of products available to them. Back to our friends at Three Rivers Archery. This is their arrow builder. This thing is really cool. So it's got a real-time preview. You can see exactly what your arrow is going to look like. They walk you through it like a bouncing ball, so it's highly usable, easy to do. And then they've made it responsive because they understand that their customers tend to be mobile customers, and so they get high conversions on mobile products, even for their customized products. These things didn't exist 3 years ago. It's a really fascinating change to see. These are the disruptions within our own industry. If you stay on top of these disruptions, you'll keep growing, and you won't wind up wondering why, after you lost your SEO, your business collapsed. We're going to talk about SEO in a second, but before we do that, how many of you are manufacturers of something? Okay, so a few. Here's the thing about manufacturing, and this doesn't apply universally, but Macy's is closing stores by the hundreds. We all saw that headline last month. How many of you wear glasses? How many of you have at least looked at Warby Parker? Okay, Warby Parker didn't exist 10 years ago. Macy's is closing stores by the hundreds and laying off thousands, if not tens of thousands of people, and we're all looking at Warby Parker. You know why? Because they don't want to share their revenue with Macy's or Lens Crafters or Target or Walmart Optical or wherever. They don't have to. They've built a brand. They've built brand awareness. We all know who they are. We go to their website. They use technology to show us what their glasses are going to look like on our face, and they let you buy direct. Then they'll send you a bunch of pairs, and you get to keep the ones you like and send back the ones you don't. They have really leveraged technology to cut out the middleman, and that's exactly what's going on for manufacturing. I hear from people who make products all the time, well, if I compete with my channel, they won't forgive me. You know what? They don't have a choice. You are the one with the product. You are the one. Now, if your product is a commodity, if you're selling toilet paper and you try to cut out Walmart, yeah, Walmart will make their own toilet paper. That's true. But if you're selling glasses or jewelry or clothes, and people want what you're selling specifically. And there is no alternative that can be knocked off if you have specific defensible intellectual property, whether it be brand properties, product properties. Do not worry about conflicting with your channel. You may have to do it well, you may have to be nice to them, but here's the thing. The reason you gave them that margin in the first place was because in the old days, that was the only way to get to customers. The web changes everything. And if you don't embrace the direct-to-consumer model as a manufacturer, one of these days you'll have a competitor that comes along with a equal or better product that does, and they will knock you out of the park. GHP Group. I doubt any of you guys have heard of these guys, but if you've been to Lowe's or Home Depot and seen those cool like jet engine looking heaters or all the fire pits that are the rage these days, they make pretty much all these things. So they've decided, okay, we have these two great channels in Home Depot and Lowe's. They get a lot of distribution, but they want to go direct to consumer. And they also need to do a couple other things, because what happens if you get one of these heaters home from Home Depot and it doesn't work? The first thing it tells you in that box, do not return to where you purchased, call us. And so they've been able to leverage their website to do warranty registration and replacement parts, as well as high margin sales direct to their customers. And so they're fully integrated with their ERP and their supply chain, and then they are able to both make Home Depot and Lowe's happier, because then they get less returns, less customer service problems, and increase their margins on their product. In addition, they do user-generated content that they syndicate across multiple channels. So they do special microsites for Home Depot and Lowe's, but they get the reviews from their own customers directly, and then they're able to share those reviews out across multiple channels. And they do question and answers. So they're able to get high-quality product information from their community of people. So we'll talk about SEO, and then I'm going to wrap up here. Going back to why there's been so much disruption in the last decade in e-commerce, it used to be on Google. In fact, if you go back to 2003, there wasn't even really paid ads. I don't remember exactly when AdWords came out, but it used to just be all SEO. Stuff a bunch of keywords into your head tag, use a link farm to get a bunch of links, fake the system out, rise to the top, collect your money. It was kind of like that South Park episodes. Get the underpants, question mark, profit. And it was just like that. And people would game the SEO system, and they would take the money home, and they got comfortable. And look, I would have done it too. It was a great model. But Google has a specific mission. Google doesn't want to provide bad content. Google wants to they want to provide relevant information when you're looking for it. Google wants to do one other thing. What is that? They want to make money. They want to sell ads. So in the old days, you'd see 10 organic listings and maybe 1 or 2 ads, or maybe none. This next page I'm going to show you came from my MacBook. So it's smaller screen, I think it's 1024 by 768 is how it ends up displaying. I just searched for Miva. Here's what comes up today if you were searching for Miva on Google on a smaller screen. So yeah, there was 2 paid ads at the top. Actually, ironically, if you search for these from our office in San Diego, you got no paid ads. You see 1 organic link. Thank God it's us. Then you see our Google Plus profile. You see some information about David Hubbard and where we're based and our CTO. You see a little picture of me because of my Google Plus profile. There is no room for organic SEO on this page. If someone needed to rank highly for the word Miva in order to succeed in their business, they would be SOL. And their other option, they can pay. Google will let them trump me if they want, no pun intended, to be at the very top. But ultimately, the organic SEO model, and Google AdWords, even though it's a bidding marketplace, works just like Amazon. Conveniently, they take almost exactly the amount of margin that's available to sell a product. On the other hand, I'm sure you guys have all seen these. How many of you are on Facebook? I mean, virtually everyone in the Western world is. So I went scrolling through my Facebook page yesterday to find, I was getting a bunch of ads. I was hoping, sometimes I get these more than other times, but how many of you get these t-shirt ads? It'll be like some movie you like, Han Solo for president or Big Lebowski for president. So this year's the campaign season, so doing a lot of for president ads. I finally found a Calvin and Hobbes t-shirt because I like Calvin and Hobbes. At some point, I don't remember when, probably 7, 8 years ago, something about Calvin and Hobbes scrolled by and I clicked the like button. I have no recollection of telling Facebook that I like Calvin and Hobbes, but I do. Calvin and Hobbes are cool. I'm not going to buy the t-shirt, but they're cool. Someone's able, a clever marketer now is able to generate a preview of a t-shirt that may not even exist. This shirt may not exist anywhere. This may just be a preview of it. Yet they're able to sell it to me, and then when I tell it I want an extra large t-shirt of this Calvin and Hobbes image, they can print the thing on demand and sell it and ship it to me. This is new SEO. This is how you're going to use hyper-personalized marketing based on people's expressed likes and interests in the modern age to get back to the top and get in front of people. Who even knows if they have anything to do with Calvin and Hobbes? This could be some kid in his basement. I have no idea. All I know is they have not gotten a DMCA to take it down, so they're able to keep selling t-shirts. And this goes product after product. If you look through my feed yesterday, because I like gadgets, I saw products for battery packs. I saw some books. I saw a ton of things. And the one thing they all had in common, every single one of those product recommendations was entirely based on things that I had told Facebook I liked. And in almost all cases, I have no recollection of telling Facebook I liked it. That data is out there, and if you start leveraging it, it is the new SEO. And Facebook is just the easy example to use, but the same stuff works on Instagram. And it will eventually work on Snapchat and Pinterest. All of the social media platforms are looking to leverage their like-based information to sell you personalized products. Have you guys seen those? They make like maybe this is so specialized to me that I'm the only one who gets this ad, but they're these like blow-up couches, and like you swing the thing and close it up, and then you can sit down. I get that in my Instagram feed like every 20 posts. And it's probably because it knows I went to Coachella this year. And people who go to Coachella want someplace to sit. And so they figured out there's a high correlation between people who go to music festivals and people who buy these little blow-up chairs. So it's not always that I like Calvin and Hobbes, so I'm getting a Calvin and Hobbes t-shirt. It's understanding where your customers are and what they would do. You can sort of imagine, if you could pop up a pop-up booth at an event somewhere, and you know you'd sell really well there, then you can probably use anyone who likes that event or has posted about being such an event to display an ad to them to get relevant content in front of them. So SEO has changed. It is no longer keyword stuffing. It is no longer the same hack it was before, but it's still there. It just looks different. And if you stay ahead of these disruptions, your business will continue to thrive. E-commerce is the next wave. We are still in the infancy of e-commerce. I think it's, Jason, you might know this, 7% of total retail still? I mean, it's minor. It's hard to fathom that the next generation at some point doesn't see that number in the 20-30% range. We just want to buy things. We want to pick up our device, hit a button, and have it magically show up. And that's where we're heading. And if you stay ahead of these disruptions, your business will continue to thrive. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate your time today.